my sparkly tree again, and it's late again, so it's just been so hard. It's 1:15, although we've only just changed over from daylight savings, so technically it's kind of like 11:45, and I just can't sleep. I think partly because like daylight savings, but also I'm having my scan tomorrow to check my follicle size, and I think, it's just all the thoughts are just coming back in, and I'm just trying really hard to focus on, just being healthy and, setting really good intentions. But when you can't sleep, you're just laying there with your own thoughts, and suddenly you start thinking about all the other people who are pregnant and you're not, and like the tears started coming again. But this time I embraced my inner guru, which is something I learned in one of my counselling subjects in my degree. And the inner guru question is basically, if you were your own friend, or if your friend was in the position you're in, what would you be saying to them? So that's what I started doing with myself. And it was really interesting, the things that were coming up, and it was almost as if there was just like this really strong message that I was giving myself, and it was just, Jade, the reason why you're going through this is because you're strong enough to go through it, and this is actually part of your journey to learn these things so that you can help other women. And if you think about the things that you've been through, from my year 12 days where it was awful, I fell out with my friends, and from being bashed when I was 17 years old by this woman, all sorts of things. And I know that there are some people that wouldn't have been able to get through that, but I feel like all of those things have helped to strengthen me, and it's made me stronger. And I feel like I struggle to say these things because I don't believe in God. I don't believe in someone looking over me or anything like that, but I certainly do feel that there is just some sort of purpose for me that I'm discovering, and that is that I'm going through this because I am strong enough to do this, and I'm going through this because my life purpose is to help other women. I'm going through this now because this is going to be able to help me help other women. So the moment that I realised that only minutes ago, I suddenly felt really powerful, and I just felt really strong. And now I still can't sleep because I'm thinking about how excited that makes me. And even though this has been an arduous, emotional, expensive experience, it's also one that I know is not only helping me and my husband, but it's actually going to help so many other women. Because if I wasn't going through this, because I am such a passionate person, I don't just go through something and learn from it. I go through something and want everyone else to learn from it too. And I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Once again, I feel like I actually, my anger is raging. Like I just want to throw things. I want to like swear. I want to smash things. I just want to be angry at someone. Like it's actually painful. Like I have not felt like this in such a long time, and it's just so frustrating. Like I'm such a calm, positive person, and to have this like rage running through my blood is just so abnormal for how far I've come in life. And oh my God, it's so angry. Like it's just makes me feel like my whole blood is boiling. Like I just want to throw things. I want things to be a loud noise. Like I see today, like I was just trying to comb my hair and it wouldn't work. And I felt like that teenage rage where you just get the shits over nothing, and it's pathetic and stupid. And you know, like if you saw someone doing that on TV, you'd be like, oh my God, grow up. Like that's how I feel right now. And it's just frustrating because I feel like I've got two minds. Like one mind's like my adult mind and I'm like, don't be silly, like grow up. But then the other mind's just like, oh my God, fucking nothing works. It's fucked, you know, like, oh my God, it's so infuriating. But the only thing I can think to do is just video myself and just help me get it off my chest, and then I can move through. I've literally just gone and thrown myself on my bed and just like started like crying, you know, when it's just like it hurts so much that you have to force yourself to cry. Like, and it just again just reminds me of when I was like 16 and I was like getting my period and I needed to cry over nothing. Like that's how I feel. It's so bad. Like, oh, I feel for people that feel like this all the time, because there are so many people that have like certain like, you know, chemical imbalances that cause them to always feel like this. And it really makes me feel for them. This is, oh, you know, I can get through this every now and then, but bloody hell, like being like this every day would just be so painful. I hate it so much. I just want it to pass. I just want things to be normal again. So I just had the scan. Obviously they can't really tell you much, but they do send it off to the IVF clinic urgently, so I should have the results in a couple of hours. Nothing to report about the scan, nothing unusual that I haven't experienced before, but I certainly was laying there just feeling like really numb to it all today, and just feeling like when I first started IVF it was really exciting, and just feel, you know, you just have like, you can't wait for the next phase. But because there's been this gap in between, like of doing the drugs, it almost feels like we finished now, and like all of a sudden I'm doing these extra things again, and like it's just like, it just doesn't feel like it's towards something really important. My husband just called me and I can't even remember where I was at, but I just feel, yeah, really like I just need to get that excitement back again. I don't think it's going to be exciting until we do the transfer, to be honest. But I was laying there and the emotions started kicking in again, and I was like, why me? You know, like there's so many people that just fall pregnant. They don't have to go through any of this. Like just laying there with a wand up my vagina once again. And then that same voice came back into my mind that I was telling myself last night. Remember, Jade, you're doing this for other women. And that just like, that really is helping me to get through this, just constantly telling myself, you're not just doing this for you, you're doing this to help other women. And that gives me strength. So they just called back and said that lining's looking good and there is a follicle there, but it is, you know, still a little bit small, but totally normal at this stage. And I totally anticipated that anyway. So they said it was about 12 millimeters and they need it to be about 18 millimeters. So today's Monday, they're planning to do another scan on Friday. So obviously they realized that, yep, just need to push along a little bit more. And then I'll have a blood test on the Friday as well, just to check my, I think it's progesterone and luteinizing hormone, and then see if we're good to go, and then go from there. So that's good. Glad to hear that there is a follicle there and the lining's looking good, because you know, all you just get in your head and you're like, oh my God, what if for some reason I don't ovulate this month, like, which never happens, but for me, but yeah. So anyway, that's good. So I just got a parcel in the mail from my cousin, and these are some very special IVF socks, and it says, to Jade, These are to keep your feet warm when you have your transfer. The feet are the window to your uterus, so keep them snugly, which I just think is so gorgeous. And they are made by Beck. And there's an Instagram if you wanted to check them out or order them for someone you know is going through IVF. So thoughtful. So, honest truth time. The last couple of weeks I have been having some vaginal problems, and you know, I want to tell you guys everything because there's going to be women who are watching this who are going through IVF and they won't know whether something is normal. They may not feel comfortable talking about it or know whether they should reach out about it. So one thing I noticed for sure ever since egg collection is that I was getting burning with sex, and I thought maybe just there'll be a bit of discomfort for a week or so after egg collection. I mean, they particularly given they're going up the vagina, but it continued and sex has just been super uncomfortable, and the burning would last for about an hour after sex as well. So then on top of that, now I've actually been getting an offensive smell coming from the vagina as well. And then I was like, okay, probably need to do something about it. So I was chatting to someone who has also been through IVF, and they said similar thing to them, and they had to take antibiotics. And straight away I was like, there's no way in hell I'm taking antibiotics. Just like, I will take antibiotics if it's a life or death situation, but given how much it affects your gut microbiome, there's just no way I'm doing it. I've done way too much work on my health to go backwards now. So I reached out to my naturopath, and she also confirmed that it sounded like an infection, and she recommended some herbs for me to get onto straight away, and also to do some tea tree pessaries as well. So this is what I love, as a naturopath, even though we know all these things, like, we still need someone else to help us because we just can't think clearly on our own case. And we actually have so many herbs that are pretty much, herbal antibiotic equivalents, but they are a little bit more selective and not so abrasive on the gut. So she's told me a few herbs to choose, so I've made those up straight away. So lucky to be a naturopath and have everything I need on hand. And I'm just going to make up some pessaries in a moment as well. So fingers crossed that clears it up, because transfers in about 6 days. I'll see how it goes in the next few days, and then obviously if it's no better in a few days, well then I need to action something else. But I'm pretty confident that it should be all right. I mean, I don't have any pelvic pain, no back pain, no fever and chills, no nausea, like nothing that would indicate like a real deep infection. But it's and there's actually no discomfort when I'm not having sex. It's only if I do have sex, and it's just more the smell that's not very pleasant at all. So let's see if we can get on top of this. And yeah. So I've just made myself a herb mix. So this one has Hortinia, Echinacea and Cedar. So these top two herbs she recommended. The third herb was Burr Marigold, which I didn't have any, but I thought Cedar would be a good replacement. So Hortinia and Cedar are really antibacterial herbs, as well as a myriad of other things. And Echinacea also antibacterial, antiviral, supports white blood cells and all sorts. So hopefully this one will knock it on its head, along with some pessaries. Fingers crossed, as transfer is probably going to be in about 6 days. So we want to get rid of it before then. So I just had my second scan, day 14 of my cycle, and it was actually really cool because it up on the screen so I could see it this time, which no one's done for me before, which I just found really useful and educational as well. So I could clearly see straight away which one was my dominant follicle, which was on my left ovary, and I said, is that my main dominant follicle? And she's like, yep. And so on Monday it was 13 mil, and today it was just over 16 mil, and I know they want it to be 18 mil, which would mean that I'm only a day or two off ovulation, and that makes sense for me because I ovulate day 16 of my cycle, and I'm day 14 now, so that makes perfect sense. So now I just have to wait for them to call me and tell me if everything is good to go. All right, quick correction. I'm actually on day 13 of my cycle. I was getting that wrong. I just double checked. But they just called to say that it still needs another few days, the follicle, which, you know, I could see from today as well. So it was about 16-ish mils, and I think they want it to be about 18. And the lining was 6 mil, and it hasn't really moved, but that is quite in line with what your follicle size is, because as you then get closer to ovulation, then the lining will start to thicken because it knows that it's releasing an egg where they want it to be fertilized, and then, you know, so on. So that's all still fairly normal at this stage, nothing to be concerned about. Although with IVF world, you realize that everything can change the next day. So but they said that we'll pretty much most likely do another scan. She's tentatively booked me in for Monday, but I'll probably have to do another blood test on Sunday as well. I just did a blood test then for my progesterone and luteinizing hormone, so that they can just get a little gauge on what my hormones are doing. But I have no doubt that we'll probably just have to do it again. So that'll be the third scan. But, you know, she was really reassuring and said, you know, this is just a really tedious part of the process because they really need to know exactly when you're ovulating. So it's to be expected, definitely not concerned at all at the moment. So I'm guessing if I do ovulate on Monday, because if I always ovulate on day 16, I'm day 13 now, so that would be Monday. Then I'm assuming then that I would probably be doing transfer more like next Friday or Saturday now. So which is totally fine. A little bit longer, and also a bit longer to bloody deal with this infection as well. So that's kind of good too. So I've just had another call from Ballarat IVF, and Russell has had a look at the bloods and the follicle size. And so they actually take an average of the two. So my follicle was 16 by 13, and then they actually take an average, so they actually make it that the follicle size is actually 14 mil. So that means that it's still actually got a little way to go. And even if I was like ovulating on, you know, I usually ovulate on day 16, but they think by the rate that they move, the surge may not be quite there yet, even on Monday. But because things change all the time, I'm having a blood test on Sunday, just to be sure, and then on Monday morning having another scan done. So we'll see how it goes. But, you know, the fact is it is definitely progressing, and, you know, it is a natural cycle as well. So, and everyone's cycle does move slightly differently. So definitely, once again, nothing negative. It's just all the way that it's, you know, pans out. So I feel like, you know, transfer is probably going to happen a little bit later than what I expected. But to be honest, when you think about it, I got my period earlier anyway. So it's still probably going to pan out to be around the time that I initially expected. So that's fine. They reckon that at the earliest my transfer will probably end up being around next Saturday, and today is Friday, so the following Saturday. So we'll see how we go, but that's another update. So I just thought I'd show how I'm making some tea tree oil pessaries to hopefully help with this infection. So it's actually really easy to do. I've got this awesome old school book that we had in our botany and manufacturing class, and it's got some beauties in here, different things you can make. So this one's a tea tree oil pessary, really basic. So it's got kofa there, but you can also use Millie's just having a cough over there. You can also use cacao, which works really well because it sets really well at room temperature. So for this one, I've just doubled the recipe so that I've got a few, and you know, if anyone else, any of my clients need them, I've got some backup as well. So I've just melted some cacao butter, and then I've put some tea tree oil. I realized I didn't have any tea tree oil, so I went out and got some today. You really need to make sure it's a tiny amount. So this was 1 ml per 9 grams, so I put 2 ml per 18 grams. Because, you know, tea tree oil is very full on. Oh no, I've just spilled it. Okay, I'll fix that in a sec.
But basically you just pop these in here, put them in the fridge, they set pretty quickly, and then you pop them up there.